A draft in the old house. Full story. The old apartment with its 4-meter ceilings and creaky oak parquet floors went to Maxim and Anya suspiciously cheap. The realtor, nervously fiddling with his keys, cited the owner's urgent relocation and a specific ventilation system that occasionally caused wind to roam the rooms. The young couple wasn't bothered. The huge windows overlooking a quiet street in Old Kaunas and the late 19th century stucco compensated for any household quirks. Along with them, Joy crossed the threshold. An active and incredibly smart border collie. The dog immediately sniffed every corner. In the living room, he wagged his tail happily. In the kitchen, he busily checked the spot where his bowls would be. But upon reaching the bedroom, he suddenly stopped. Joy tensed, the hair on his scruff stood up, and he let out a low, guttural growl, staring into an empty corner of the room where a massive antique wardrobe loomed. "Hey boy, what's wrong?" Maxim ruffled the dog's neck. "It's just an old piece of wood. Get used to the new house." Joy reluctantly wagged his tail, but never entered the bedroom, preferring to lie down in the hallway. Mind games. The weirdness began on the third day. In the evening, Anya was standing at the stove, brewing tea. The apartment was quiet, except for the rhythmic hum of the computers in the living room. Maxim was sitting at his desk, wearing large headphones, deeply engrossed in a new project. The Premiere Pro 2026 interface glowed on his 2 monitors. He was just mixing a complex multi-camera edit, occasionally trimming tracks and tweaking the color grading. Suddenly, the heavy double door leading from the kitchen to the living room slowly pushed open with a drawn-out groan. Anya froze, with the kettle in her hands. There was no one in the apartment but the 2 of them. Joy was peacefully chewing his toy on his mat at that moment. "Max?" she called, stepping closer to the door. He pulled off one headphone without taking his eyes off the timeline. Did you say something?" "The door. It just opened by itself." Maxim sighed, saved the project and looked at his wife. Then he shifted his gaze to the slightly open vent window in the kitchen. "Just a regular draft, Anya. Physics. Pressure difference. We're in an old house. The windows are wooden, and there's a strong wind blowing from the nemunas. So, the draft kicks in." The explanation sounded logical. Anya exhaled, poured the tea, and closed the window. But the sticky chill between her shoulder blades remained. Over the next week, the tension began to rise. Things started changing their places. The car keys, which Maxim always tossed on the nightstand in the hallway, were found on the windowsill in the bedroom. A flash drive with raw video files migrated from the desk to a shelf in the bathroom. "Did you put them there?" he asked irritably one morning, trying to find the keys. "I didn't even touch them," Anya replied, feeling goosebumps run down her skin. "Maybe you forgot? You were editing until 3 in the morning yesterday. You were very tired." Maxim reluctantly agreed. Fatigue, the stress of moving, hours of sitting in front of a monitor. The human brain is capable of forgetting far stranger things. But then why did Joy now flatly refuse to stay alone in the hallway? The smart dog, who had never been afraid of the dark before, now whined and scratched at the bedroom door with his paw, begging to be let inside, as if he were hiding from someone. Animals can sense electromagnetic fields. Maxim read from an article on his phone that evening, trying to calm his wife. In the center of Kaunas, the utilities are old. The wiring is worn out. It creates a background that irritates dogs. That's all it is. Night steps. The creepiest part began in November when the freezing Baltic rain set in outside the window. It was late at night. Anya woke up to a sound that couldn't possibly be blamed on the wind. Creak, pause, creak. The sound came from the hallway. Someone, shifting their heavy weight from heel to toe, was walking from the front door toward their bedroom. She clung to Maxim's arm. He was already awake. His eyes were wide open, peering into the darkness of the doorway. At the foot of the bed, huddled under the blanket, Joy was trembling violently. The border collie didn't even try to bark. He just whimpered, hiding his nose. "It's the parquet," Maxim whispered, though his voice betrayed him with a slight tremor. The wood cools down at night. The radiators work unevenly. That's where the sound comes from. Creak. The footstep grew closer, right outside the door. Maxim swallowed, silently threw off the blanket, grabbed a heavy metal flashlight from the nightstand, and stepped into the hallway. He flicked the light switch. The hallway was absolutely empty. No shadows, no wet shoe prints. Only the old mirror in its darkened frame reflected Maxim's pale face. He checked the front door. The lock was turned twice. The chain was on. The bottom deadbolt was secured. He returned to the bedroom, smiling guiltily and a little nervously. "I told you. Old wood. We'll need to relay the floors in the spring. Joy is just reacting to our emotions. Dogs are empathetic." Anya nodded frantically, covering her head. The tension eased a little. It was just an old house, just physics, just their frayed nerves and rich imagination. The climax. A few days later, a real storm hit the city. The wind howled in the gutters as if someone were crying in there. Maxim was once again up late working. Anya had long been asleep in the next room. Maxim hit the spacebar, stopping the video playback in Premiere, and stretched in his chair. Silence hung in the apartment, broken only by the roar of the wind outside. Suddenly, he felt a light breath of icy air on the back of his neck. The hairs on his neck stood on end. He spun around. No one. But the bedroom door, which he had definitely closed so the light from the monitors wouldn't bother Anya, was wide open. He walked quietly to the bedroom. Anya was sleeping peacefully. Joy was lying next to the bed, but he wasn't asleep. The dog sat completely motionless, staring intently at that very antique wardrobe. Maxim sighed, walked over to the window, and pulled the curtains tighter so the street lamp wouldn't shine in their eyes. He was just about to get into bed when the light seeping through a slit in the blinds was suddenly blocked by a dense, shapeless shadow. There was a sharp, dry thud. A heavy book lying on the very edge of the shelf above the bed crashed to the floor, narrowly missing Anya's head. The girl woke up with a scream. At that exact second, the door of the antique wardrobe swung wide open with a vile, grinding screech. An icy tomb-like chill blew from the bowels of the wardrobe, carrying the smell of old dust and dampness. Joy, unable to take it anymore, erupted into a deafening, hysterical bark, backing away toward the door. Maxim jumped up, shining the flashlight beam straight into the black maw of the wardrobe. His heart was pounding somewhere in his throat. He walked right up to it, gripping the flashlight like a club, ready to strike whoever was hiding there. The beam of light caught empty hangers. dusty shelves, a solid back wall. Maxim exhaled so sharply he almost choked. He reached inside and pressed hard against the back panel. It wobbled menacingly. Behind it, in the depths of the wall, he discovered an old, half-destroyed ventilation grill leading, apparently, straight up to the attic. A gale-force wind was blowing outside, and a strong gust of freezing air, bursting through the cracks in the attic, slammed into the back wall of the wardrobe, knocking the loosely secured door open. And the book? Maxim looked at the shelf. The shelf was screwed right above the spot where the ventilation duct ran through the wall. The intense vibration from the gust of wind slamming into the house simply knocked the book, which was resting on the very edge, down. "Look." Maxim laughed nervously and loudly, showing Anya the loose panel from which the cold draft was pulling. "Here's your ghost. Here are your footsteps and open doors. It's just a wind tunnel, not an apartment. The wind roams through the ceilings and creates pressure. Tomorrow, I'm going to the hardware store. I'll board this up with plywood and seal it dead with foam." Anya fell back onto the pillows exhaustedly, laughter through tears. Joy, realizing his owner was gone, stopped barking, sneezed guiltily, and lay down on his mat. There was a logical explanation for everything. No mysticism, just drafts, the laws of physics, pressure differences, and old, rotten floorboards. Maxim slammed the wardrobe door shut with force. To be safe, he turned the massive decorative key sticking out of it until it clicked, locking the mechanism so the draft couldn't blow it open again. He got into bed, hugging his wife tightly. To the howling of the wind outside, they finally felt an incredible sense of relief and began drifting into a deep, peaceful sleep. A soothing silence descended upon the room, and suddenly, in the absolute darkness, when the wind outside died down for a split second, the key in the wardrobe lock slowly turned with a distinct metallic click,